2 more presentations to go. We're almost there. This next one, this presenter is definitely really special. So earlier, there's no blueprint on how to put on like these events. Like there's no product or there's no course on how to put on an event like this. And at one point, I got stuck. Like after our last event, I didn't know where to take it, how to continue to grow it, how to create a bigger reach, and how to reach a bigger audience who I want to serve and who I want to help. And I took a leap of faith, and I actually reached out to AJ and invested in AJ as my coach. And so a lot of what you see this weekend and a lot of the success of this weekend and the group that's in here and the audience that's in here is because of the work I did with AJ and the mentoring I got with AJ Roberts. And so this one has a special place in my heart. So without further ado, AJ Roberts.
All right. You guys hear me? I hate these mics here, but I got some notes here, so if I'm looking down, I don't do slides or anything like that. To be honest, I wrote these this morning, so bear with me. I didn't fly all the way from Australia, but I did come from England. I was there for the last 3 weeks. I held a couple of events over there. I was there for my brother's wedding. So we flew back Tuesday, came here Wednesday. Yesterday we did a little mastermind with the speakers, and today we're here. So my voice, I got sick while I was over there, so it's a little raspy, a little hoarse. Hopefully you guys can all make out, what I'm saying. What's really interesting is I've been traveling around doing a lot more events recently, and I'm starting to see patterns. And my whole life, that's what I've really been good at, is just seeing patterns. I look at things, and I'm always able to dissect them and simplify them. And I'm really able to take the complex and simplify for people. It's how I've been able to be super successful in my career, not only as an athlete, but also as a business owner and an entrepreneur. And so, as I was thinking about what to share with you guys, I started thinking about all the different things I could talk about. And there's really like 3 big things that I see right now that hold most people back. One of the things that holds most people back is overwhelm, right? And the more and more I talk to people, the more I realize is a lot of times it's not that you don't know what to do, it's that you're not sure where to start. There's so many things you could do. There's so many directions you could take. There's so many opportunities ahead of you. It's not that you don't have the education or you don't have the knowledge. It's just simply that you're like afraid to start because you don't want to go in the wrong direction. And then we create this overwhelm, and it's self-inflicted. And so we're paralyzed and we're stuck in the moment, right? We escape by thinking about the future, right? We like to dream. Everyone's a dreamer. But things never move towards that dream because every time we want to start, we get overwhelmed with what do we need to do. Do I do the webinar? Do I do the ads? Do I do a boot camp? Do I do one-to-one? Do we add this service in? Like, where do we start? So we're going to talk a little bit about overwhelm today. The second thing I see a lot that people get stuck, and I'm not going to talk much about this as Pat's going to go into a lot of this, is people don't know why they do what they do. Simon Sinek wrote a great book, Start With Why, but really, most people have no idea why they do what they do. If they do, they don't tell people why they do what they do. It's an area they keep to themselves. It's their story that they're too afraid to share. And a lot of the times they build a business that isn't based around their passion, isn't based around their purpose, isn't based around what they feel cool to do, because they allow themselves to be told that there is a better way or a different way. They don't follow their intuition. And Pat's going to talk a lot about that after, as he's gone through quite the journey, and we've gone through a lot of that together over the years. So, why? That's a big reason people get stuck and don't reach the success that they can. And then the big one that I'm seeing right now, and the reality is most people don't know how to sell. And everyone goes, when you say sales. But the truth is, if you build it, they will not come. Back when I got out of college, I thought I'll open my own gym. Very successful powerlifter, been at the Division I level for 4 years coaching as a strength and conditioning coach. I'll open my own gym. I have a reputation in the area. I'll open it up, I'll train athletes, I'll get all these kids to come, and I'll be off to the races. And I managed to get 5 kids, so I'm thinking I'm in the money. It's the summertime, kids are training, fall rolls around, kids go back to school, I lose all my clients, right? And that's when I realized I don't know how to market, I don't know how to sell. And that was the first part of my journey, and we'll dig into that, but that's what led me to meet and Pat. And then from there, things have really changed. I'm going to talk about sales today because I've never considered myself a salesperson, but the truth is when you believe in yourself, and you know that you can do the things you can do, you could transform other people's lives, it's not sales. It's just communication. You're sharing a message that leads to someone investing with you because they have a belief that you can get them from where they are to where they want to be. Right? And every single person that comes to you because they're in pain. Right? No one's coming to you because they just want to feel better. Right? Because usually those people already know what to do. They come to you because they want to escape the reality they're in. And if we fail to convert them into a client, we fail to communicate that we have the power to change their life. And so sales is fundamentally, it's the most important part of the business. But most trainers think if they just get better at training, if they just perfect their craft, or they go to one certification to the next certification, eventually their clients will show up. Eventually they'll be able to get results and there'll be word of mouth. I'm here to tell you right now, our industry, we fail the world if you look at the statistics. Obesity continues to rise. More and more trainers come into the space, yet there's no change being made. Our industry doesn't need to exist. It exists because there's a problem that's arose, but we're not making a big enough dent. And a lot of that comes down to, and the reality is most of us, at some point or another, we don't truly believe that we can do what we're supposed to do. There's a self-doubt there. Because if we did, we would never let a single person leave. Because it wouldn't make any sense to us. Wait a minute, you just walked into my facility or you just got on the phone with me and now you're telling me you don't want to change your life? What just happened? Did you just realize that your life's awesome? That you're okay with being average? That you're cool with not being able to get up in the mornings because you're too exhausted? Not being able to play football with your kids because you're out of breath? That's cool now? What happened in the last hour that we spent together? What happened is we failed to communicate to them that we can get them from where they want to go to where they are, and so they would rather go back than risk losing their money, because that's what they think is going to happen. I'm losing my money. It's going to cost me. And that comes because we are not confident in ourselves. There's this conscious communication that goes on. We're not aware of it. They're not aware of it. But it's this reptilian brain. It's the first brain, right? I call it the Angry Salamander, right? And really what happens is when you present your offer, their Angry Salamander goes, "Fuck you!" And then they look at you and they go, "I need to talk to my wife." And we go, "Oh yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm sure your wife is gonna not allow you to change your life." And we let them off the hook. And their Angry Salamander goes, "See, told you, that guy's full of shit." Because if I knew I could change their life, my response to I need to talk to my wife would be "Oh, okay. Did your wife know you were coming here today?" "Well, yeah, but it's a financial decision and we got to totally understand. You want to call your wife right now?" That way, if she has any questions, I'm there to answer them with you. Do you want to set a meeting up if you come back in with your wife? Do you want to fill out the paperwork? And if she says no, we'll just tear it up. But we're too afraid to move forward in that commitment. And so they go away and they don't talk to their wife. They decide they don't want to do the program because they don't believe you can get them results. So that comes from a lack of faith in ourselves. So I have a question for you guys, right? If I said to you, I have a business in a box, fitness business in a box, it's $20,000, right? All you have to do is work your ass off for the next 2 years, and I guarantee 100% of you will make $1 million. How many of you would sign up? Guaranteed $1 million. Great. Everyone in the room's hands went up, right? Same question. This time there's only a 50-50 chance. Who would take the risk? Stand up. So about half the room. All right, sit down. Thank you. Now there's a 10% chance. 10%. Go ahead and stand up. Fantastic. Sit down. 1% chance. 1% chance, guys. Who's the 1%er in here? Who would stand up? So 5. Reality is we're in a group setting. There's a little peer pressure. Probably a lot of us said we stood up when we wouldn't. 1% of you, less than 1% of this room, would take a 1% risk. That's how little you guys believe in yourself. 1% of the world makes all the money. You have to choose to be a 1%er. Otherwise, get out. Get out of the industry. Go work for someone else. Because you're not going to lead a team. You're not going to build a business that changes lives by being in the safe zone over here. No one is going to follow you. No one is going to give you money. And so you'll scrape by month to month, and you'll dream of something bigger, and you'll live in a fantasy land. You have to decide to be a 1%er. Like, you can't go into business and cruise like you do through school. There's no just like showing up and just passing and getting a D and being okay with that. You can't be a 2.0 student in business. You'll go out of business or you'll be miserable. You have to be an A+ student. And A+ students aren't just smart. People aren't born intelligent. It's a skill that's learned. And in this industry, you can learn anything you need to learn to succeed. And so you have to make that decision. And you have to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I believe in myself enough to go all in. Because if you don't, why were your clients? You're asking them to follow a diet, yet you ate McDonald's for breakfast. They might not ever see that, but you're not in alignment with your beliefs that you're trying to put onto other people. And if you don't believe in what you're preaching, who else will? Because what happens is you feel like a fake, because you are a fake in that moment. And so this self-doubt, this fear builds in you that you're going to be found out. So you have to be a 1%er. You have to choose to go all in. When you do that, you set into motion, into the universe, a message that all of a sudden, it's like everything aligns. Because you chose to step up. And it's a simple decision, right? There's 2 types of people in the world. There's the excuses people, and there's the action people. Right? Excuses people are the people I talk to, and they want to tell me a story. They want to tell me all the reasons they're not successful, all of the troubles they have. They put all the blame on everyone else. It's never their fault. My friends wanted me to do this. My kids wanted me to do that. I can't work that hard because, my wife, she wants my time and my attention. And then there's the action people who just take action and then deal with everything after. Extreme ownership. If you haven't read the book, I would highly recommend reading that book. But the title of the book explains everything. Extreme ownership. You are responsible for everything in your life. Life is happening, and everything you have is your responsibility. You get to choose and dictate every single thing in your life. Everything. We have to go back one step further than where we're comfortable with. A client quits, doesn't pay his bill, and leaves. Well, they're not dedicated. They're not committed. Where did we fail where they got to a point where they would quit and leave before having a conversation with us? How, as a trainer, did I screw up that relationship? When they didn't show up, did I contact them? Do I care about them more than just when I made the sale? We have to go back one step in everything that happens to us. And we have to say, where was I responsible? Where did I have a hand in this? And if you go back far enough, you will always find the answer. Because you can't control other people's actions. You can only control your own. So extreme ownership. Be an action person, right? If you can learn to live in integrity, to go all in and be a 1%er, sales, marketing, customer experience, those things become effortless. People will follow you to the end of earth and back because they believe in visions, and people will buy into your vision. And you won't have to convince them of anything. The worst thing ever is to have to persuade or trick someone or, push them into making a decision, because you're going to have to persuade, trick, and push them into taking action. And who shows up in your life as a direct result is how you operate. So if people are not paying their bills, I highly suggest you look at where you're not paying your bills. If you're slow to make investments when you're given opportunities, I'd highly look at when people give you objections, why that is. These things are not coincidences. They're clues into the areas of our life we need to change, and the areas of life that if we improve, everything goes vertical. All right? So I just mentioned it. There's 3 areas you really need to focus on as a trainer. Most trainers have a great experience. They're able to deliver results. Unfortunately, most trainers don't believe in themselves enough to charge a high enough price that the commitment level of the client is high enough to actually take action, right? And so you have to think of it, if it's $100 a month, what's $100 a month? Again, it depends on the clientele you have, but someone who invests $1,000 a month is a lot more likely to take action than someone who invests $100 a month, right? You're much more likely to invest, to take more action on an event that you pay $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 you go to than an event you pay a couple of hundred, right? Why? Because if you invest that much money and you don't take action, it's going to hurt, right? But most trainers can deliver experience. Most trainers know how to get results. Sometimes they're just not setting it up in the right way that it gets results. But I believe that you guys who are here, especially you guys who are here, you wouldn't be here if you weren't good at the experience phase. Those trainers didn't come this weekend, right? Marketing is the catalyst that starts everything. And Scott talked about that. And then sales is the conversion, right? And selling isn't, here's my price sheet, which one would you like to sign up for? Selling is legitimately a conversation. I'm going to walk you through my sales process in a little bit here. The question you have to ask yourself when you look at this is, if you did all these 3 things, what is the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is you're going to be in the same place you're in right now. We're in an industry because we have a love for humanity. We want to see people improve their lives, and we know we have the tool and the vehicle to get them there. And because we're creatures of love, we generally have a lot of love in our lives. And so if we go all in and we fail, we're not going to be on our own. Because we have clients, we have friends, we have people around us who love us because of the type of people we are. If your worst fear is failing, then you need to just get over it. Because in failure is a lesson that allows you to continue just not making those same mistakes. Our lives operate in a very cyclic pattern, right? Better make sure I use the right pen on the right board. The hero's journey breaks this down in detail, but I'm going to save that because I do that over a 3-day presentation. But essentially, we start, this is the real world. And there's a call to action that encourages us to take a journey. And we take a leap of faith, and we set out on our journey. And usually there's struggles, and there's ups and there's downs, and there's difficulties. And somewhere along the way, we find a mentor that allows us to push through those, that guides us, that gives us a path, that shows us the blueprint, that removes the guessing game. And we're able to climb the mountain because we can now face the demons, right? We can face the dragons, we can face the struggles because we have the plan, we have the weapons, we have the tools that we need. So we're able to climb the mountain, and when we get through, we return back into the real world. And our life continues on this journey. But here's what most people do. They hear a voice inside them that they should step up. They take a leap of faith and start their own business. And then they hit the struggles. And they continue to go at it all alone and on their own. And I'll explain this just like someone who's trying to lose weight. If you have 100 pounds to lose, this is average, and then this is up here, ripped, right? On stage bodybuilder, like that level, right? People start this journey, they'll lose 30, 40 pounds, and they'll get to average, and they get comfortable, right? Just like in business, we start our business, we get some clients, and we get comfortable. Because we pay our bills every month. We don't make a lot of money, but we survive. And we're comfortable because we don't have to push. We don't have to take risks with the marketing. We don't have to run through a process for sales. People just show up through word of mouth, and we get a sale here, we lose a client here, but we make about the same every month, right? So they hit average. But what happens is we're not designed as humans to be like stationary. You're either growing or you're dying. And so we want to be in momentum. And if we choose to not go forward, we self-sabotage because of our own limiting beliefs. And what happens, just like our clients, is we go back to being overweight. We go back to being not able to pay our bills. And we go, oh shit, I got to take action. And so we start that climb again. And we get in this pattern of we get where we want to be, then we screw it up. Then we get where we want to be, and we screw it up. Because we don't, along the way, look at our failure as lessons and figure out what's going to propel us to that next level. Because going from suck to good isn't that hard. But going from good to great is a lot of damn work. You have to become a different person to go from good to great. You have to face a lot of demons. You have to face a lot of struggles, a lot of headaches, a lot of early mornings, a lot of sleepless nights, doing things going above and beyond what most people will do. And that's why only the 1% make it through. Because they're the ones who are dedicated enough to go all in. And we idolize those people, and we read about these people, and we fantasize in being those people, but at the end of the day, we're not willing to do what those people did. And a lot of it comes down to this inner game. What goes on between the brain, right? First thing we have to be in control of is our state. We have to operate every single day, regardless of our thoughts, feelings, emotion, and fears. I don't care if you don't feel good today. You got to put in the work. For those of you who don't know my story, I used to be a professional powerlifter. And I wasn't just someone who lifted heavy weights. I was the very best in the world. I broke 2 all-time world records. My biggest squat was 1205, my biggest bench was 910, and my biggest deadlift was 815. Most days I couldn't get out of bed. I was so sore. I was so sick. I say I was sick, fat, and nearly dead. And at the time, it was who I had to be in order to reach my goals. But I couldn't tie my shoelaces. I took a shower instead of wiping because it was just easier. But I got up every single day and go to the gym and put in the work. Why? Because I knew what I wanted. And it took me 10 years to achieve that goal. And I get to say I did something that most people never get to say they do. When you take that same drive that I had in sports and you put it into business, it's how I've been able to be a part of and build multiple 7-figure companies. In 2015, I ran an 8-figure company. Because I take the same aggression that I had for sports and I just put it straight into business. There's no difference. You show up every single day regardless of thoughts, feelings, fears, and emotion. And you do the work. That's it. You have to manage your state. I do it through meditation. I do it through journaling. I do it through going for long walks. Most of you don't realize, but meditation isn't like you have to sit there with your eyes closed and hum, right? Just driving the car in silence. It's being alone with your own thoughts. Slowing down enough to be present. And then you got to pump yourself up. If you have to dance, if you have to listen to motivational videos every day, whatever it is, you got to be in the right frame of mind. And your state can change in an instant. It can change in an instant. You have to control that. Second thing, the inner game is the rules. I got this from my friend Vishen Lakhiani. He wrote the book Extraordinary Mind. He owns Mind Valley. It's a personal development company. But these rules are bullshit rules. These are belief systems that have been imparted on you over the years by other people, by society. And the belief systems that just aren't true. And you have to question the things you believe. Work should be hard. Not really. Some of the most successful people I know, and inadvertently the laziest people I know, they enjoy life. I got to spend a week on Necker Island with Richard Branson. You know how many hours a day he works? 2. You know how many companies he runs? Over 500. Virgin, for those who don't know who Richard Branson is. He owns Virgin. One of the most successful billionaires in the world. 2 hours a day. Why? Because he's an orchestrator. He understands his job is not to do the training. His job is not to do sales. His job is not to do marketing. His job is not to do copywriting. His job is not to do product development. His job is to make it all happen. The evolutionary journey you're going to go on as a fitness professional, and I'm going to future pace for those of you who have no idea here. You start as an employee, right? And then you move to someone who is self-employed. And the self-employed person thinks that what they do is very important. And their ego is wrapped up in their identity. And it goes back to the rules. Who am I? You're a human. That's it. You're not a personal trainer. You're not a strength coach. You're not a nutrition coach. You're a human who knows how to help people. But if you want to help more people, you have to become a business owner. As a business owner, you have to know how to manage a team. You can't do it all alone on your own. You need a support system. And they need a leader. If you own a gym right now and you have trainers working for you, you're here, they're not. Who leads them? Who's helping them develop? Who's helping them grow? Who's helping them reach their goals? Because if it's not you, it's someone else. And if it's someone else, they're going to leave. I threw up an article on Facebook the other day about eating your own tail. If you're not reinventing yourself, and you're not pushing the business forward, and you're not growing the people involved, they will just leave and take half your clients with you. And I see it happen over and over and over again. Because people miss the lessons along the way. They saw something, they saw a gap. Maybe it was in your experience. Maybe it was in your marketing. Maybe it was in your sales, but they saw a gap. They said, I can do this better, and I can do it better, and I'm going to leave this gym, and I'm going to succeed. Because they didn't feel loyal to you. They didn't feel led to you. So you become a business owner. And then at some point, the business is set up where it can run whether you're there or not. And that's when you move into this entrepreneur space. And you might own multiple gyms. You might own multiple different companies. But this is a really great space because now you can expand. And you can move and you can start new companies. And at some point, maybe, in all of this, you actually are an investor where you're supporting other people getting started. So your coaches who work for you, you open a gym together. Someone has an idea and you support that idea. Maybe you publish them, something like that. But this is the journey you go on as someone as you grow. And most people just never get out of this self-employed state. They take the leap of faith. They realize, you know what, working for someone else, that's risky. If they can't pay me, I don't get paid. I need to be responsible for my own income. So I'm going to go work 80 hours a week to make the same money I was making when I was working 40. And I'm going to keep doing that. And 18 months go by. We get adrenal fatigue. We go, I can't do this anymore. And we have a moment where we think about going back to that old life. And usually what happens is we self-sabotage a little bit. We go backwards a little bit. And now we have to climb out of the hole. Climbing out of the hole gives us a false sense of achievement because we move from, back down in the dumps to good. So we feel like we've achieved something, and it gives us just a little bit enough to keep going. But managing people, oh my word, that's a lot of work. I don't want to deal with people. I'm just going to train people. I don't want to deal with trainers. I don't want to deal with developing them. Why can't they just show up on time? Why are they not as passionate as me? Because no one has shown them how to be passionate. No one has set the example for them. You're so checked out that you want to pass everything off to them, and then they get resentment because they're like, you're just relaxing and like not working, and I'm here busting my ass for you for minimum wage. And the resentment grows, and they go, I'm going to go do my own thing. And then you get thrown back under the bus, and now you're training everyone again. It's this cyclic pattern that keeps happening. So that's the journey you're going to go on. So you have to choose, do you want to get to this level, which is true wealth? John Spencer Ellis is going to talk about that. Or are you okay getting stuck? Because to get to that level, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to show up every day. You have to go all in. You can't be afraid of screwing up. You got to take risks. You got to be willing to fail. Because the odds are against you. Most businesses fail. It's not an easy game. You've got to master business just like you've mastered fitness. Otherwise, seriously, just go work for someone else and be a head trainer for them. Because all the other headaches that come with it are just not worth it if you're not in it for the long game. And there's coaches out there that's what they do. And they just show up and they work hard and they don't worry about anything else, and they're the best damn trainers in the world. but they're not trying to run a business. I'll ask questions at the end. So that's the journey. So the one thing you have to remember as you go through all of this, and the thing you'll get held up on, is that when we fail, or when we have failed, like our past is scary to us, right? But you have to understand you're not your past, right? Your past is your power. Where you have come from lays the foundation of where you should go. The struggles you've gone through get to be the stories you tell. And when you're vulnerable and when you share those stories, that's when people connect with you. When you can tell someone, look, I have or had an eating disorder. Guess who shows up at your door for help? People have had eating disorders. And so people talk about avatars and who you should help, and you'll pick like, oh, I just do weight loss for women. But if you're a dude doing weight loss for women, you're never going to get to the level because you don't ever understand what they're truly going through. Can you help them? Yes. Are you the very best of the world of it? No. You fundamentally cannot understand what they're going through. I had this conversation with a client. She's in a same-sex marriage. She doesn't have any children. And she said, I'm having struggles with the mothers in my groups. I just can't seem to get through to them. And I said, because subconsciously they look at you and say, what the fuck do you know about a family? You don't know what it's like to have children. You don't know what it's like to have a husband. And so there's a subconscious communication clash, and they check out. And they might nod yes. When they go home, they don't do what you told them to do because it didn't align with them. Your past, what you've gone through, your stories, those are the people you can help the most. And when you tell those stories, those people are attracted to you. So lean on that past. The big thing with taking action. And this goes into a little bit deeper into what I was talking about getting stuck, right? First thing you need to is know your outcome, right? Which is know your why. Like, what do you want? I asked a trainer, a client, he's coming to my event that I'm doing in Australia. I said, how much money do you want to make a month? This was after like 45 minutes of him bullshitting me on his big dream and his future and all these things he was going to do. I said, okay, let's get real. How much money do you want to make a month? He said, like 10 to 15,000. I said, there is a big difference between 10,000 and 15,000. How much do you want to make a month? Well, I don't have any bills. I live at home, so I don't really even need to make 10. Like, I don't know, like probably like 5 or 6. What do you want, dude? I can't help you. How many clients do you have? 22. Okay, how much room do you have? How many clients can you take on? 30. I said, so you need 8 clients. Yes, that's what we're focused on. We're going to double your prices because you've already charged more. For some reason, you got scared and went backwards. So let's go back to your original price. And we're going to get 8 clients. Deal? Deal. I don't care what's going to happen in 6 months. I care what's going to happen in the next week. Where are we going to get those 8 clients from? Now we can get into action because we know what the outcome is, right? So it's all great if you want to have a 10,000 square foot facility, but if you're training in a garage, you got to figure out, how do I get out of the garage? Because you're not going to go from a garage to 10,000 square foot unless you've got a rich uncle that's just going to give you a ton of money. And then you're going to have an empty facility, and people who walk into an empty facility don't particularly want to join, right? That's why we see CrossFit and big gyms joining, combining, closing, because the model just doesn't work. So you got to know your outcome. Then you got to take action. And this is imperfect action, guys. It doesn't matter what you do. It matters that you do something. Apple didn't release the iPhone 7 right off the bat. They released the iPhone, and they keep updating it. How many of you go back and update your programs? How many of you go back and reinvent what it is you offer? That's the level you have to be at. You have to take imperfect action because you can always go back. You can always improve. You should always be improving. As you learn more, you're going to change, you're going to adapt, you're going to grow. If you wait for perfection, it's never coming. It's never going to be perfect. I don't know how to write. Just write. You guys talk every day. Just speak. Turn the camera on. You want to see someone who's terrible at speaking? Go look at Gary Vaynerchuk's first videos. Hi, I'm Gary Vaynerchuk. This is Wine Library Television. I'm glad you're here. This guy's now the leader in social media. He's the guy everyone turns to for advice. He didn't start as the Gary Vaynerchuk we know now. He just started. So whatever it is you got to do, just take action. Hit send. Go live. And don't worry about what comes out. Because it will probably be better than what you expect. But without doing that, we can't move to the next phase. And the next phase is we get to analyze. We get to look at what we've done and say, how can I make that better? How can I improve it? Man, I went live, I had 5 viewers and 10 likes. That's pretty good. It's better than 0. So how do I get 6 viewers, 7 viewers, 8 viewers? It takes time to become great. There's no such thing as an overnight success. People appear like they're overnight successes. But they've been in the industry or they've been in the game for a long, long time. I spoke at my first fitness conference like 15 years ago. It was like a celebrity branding event, and they brought me in to talk about marketing. I've been on stage speaking for 15 years. That's why I can write notes on a piece of paper and talk for an hour. That's why I do podcasts. I wasn't this way originally. I remember I spoke at one event, and I asked after, I always ask for feedback from like people running events, and their advice was, stop scratching your balls. Pretty good advice. I was speaking for like 2 years. But those are the kind of things that like you can get caught up in your head about. And if you just go between knowing what you want and then taking a little bit of action or not taking action, like you never get to analyze. And if you don't get to analyze, you don't get to change the plan. Yesterday, we were masterminding, and we were talking about how a lot of times you're just throwing shit against the wall. And you're throwing as much shit against the wall as you can, just hoping for something to stick. And when it sticks, you double down. And you have to be willing to be flexible. You have to be willing to try different approaches. When my fiancée Jenny started Valkyrie Athletics, she was on the verge of bankruptcy. I got her out of her partnership. I said, hey, what do you want to do? And she says, she has personal training. She says, I really want to do nutrition. I really want to help people with nutrition. I said, why don't you take it online? Oh, I don't know. I said, I'll write your post. Let's make a post. Let's announce it. Let's see what happens. What do you want to do? Well, I have like this 30-day bikini body program that because she used to be a celebrity trainer with Dave Depew, and they used to get all the people ready for infomercials. And they had this 21-day program, and then they had a 7-day reverse diet so that people didn't gain the weight back. And these were the guys they hire for the infomercials, the ones that get their amazing results, 30 pounds lost in 30 days. So we leveraged that story, we launched her online, and she filled this program. And after 6 months, she's like, I don't really want to do rapid weight loss. It's it's not my thing. It doesn't really change people. People who are coming to me, their level of commitment, they just want quick results. I really want to work with athletes. And so we started to change the brand and change who we approach. And 2.5 years later, she just signed a deal with an NFL combine school. We work with marathon runners, CrossFitters, extreme athletes, all sorts of athletes. But it took almost 2 years to get there. She's had so much success that we started certifying other people for nutrition, and we launched a mentorship group. And Millie, who was at one of the first NorCal Summits we presented at, became a client, went through it, saw the transformation. She was already a trainer, added on to her services, joined the mentorship, and has continued to grow because of it. But she didn't start there. She started with like a $100 online nutrition program to people who wanted to rapidly lose weight. But we never would have got where we are if we didn't just start and take action and change the plan along the way. So you've got to get into action. Get an imperfect action, analyze it, and then change the plan. That's how you move forward. Right? And then when you get in front of people, this is where the selling comes in. And really, like I said, it's communication. When you tell your stories, leverage your past, put the messages out there, take action, share on Facebook, do the blog posts, and you do the marketing and all that stuff, people start to show up. And when you sit down with them, in order for them to convert, I take them through a process I call prescription selling system. It's been perfected over the years. It's so powerful that a lot of gyms who used to do sales in their gym, they just do it over the phone now. People selling, sight unseen, $1,500, $2,000 packages up front. And it's done in a specific way. The biggest thing is positioning for you guys, right? You got to start looking at yourselves as the experts, as all the authorities. When you go to a doctor's office, you don't question what the doctor prescribes, right? If you're sick and the doctor says you need this, this, and this drug, you go, thank you very much. You take your prescription and you go get the pills, right? If someone comes in to get training from you and they tell you I have this problem, this problem, and this problem, at the end, we go, okay, well, we have 3 different options for you. You can train 3 times a week, twice a week, or once a week. You can sign up for a 3, 6, or 12-month package, and we give them all these options. They just told us exactly what they want. We should be able to prescribe a formula that gives them that exact result. No questions. This is what you need. I'm going to share that system with you. I can't obviously go deep in it, but I'm going to give you the overall strategy here. And you can kind of try to come up with your own script, as that's really what it is. But the first step in this is the application process, right? Whenever you go to a doctor, as a chiropractor, you have to fill out this huge form before you get to see the doctor or the chiropractor, right? That's not done so they really can figure out what's going on with you, because they still do all the tests. It's done to position them as the expert. You are applying to work with that person. They're not applying to have you as a client. You have to shift that. Right? If you look at the dating world, when you're interacting, right, there has to be masculine, feminine energy, regardless of whether it's heterosexual, homosexual, whatever. There has to be masculine, feminine, right? There has to be a pull. You can't push. So when someone's coming to you to learn about your services, if they start questioning you and they take the masculine role, the authority role, and you're in the feminine and the weak state, they will eat you alive and they will not move forward with you. Why? Go back to the reptilian, the primal brain, right? That lizard brain. You can't help them if they're going to control you. Because who's going to call them on their shit when they go back to doing the stuff that they've been doing that have gotten the results they've got? We might not like The Biggest Loser, but Jillian Michaels is successful because she calls people out. But how many of us are scared to call people out because they give us money? So we give them all the power. We look at a lot of our nutrition clients we follow on Facebook, and it's so funny when they check in and tell us they're not doing very good, and we ask them why, and they lie to us, and then we go look at their Facebook page, and they're drinking like 3 nights out of the week. And then we call them on there, and they're like, how am I not going to do that? I don't know. You pay us for a service, and if you can't follow the plan, then we will fire you as a client. because we cannot help you unless you do what we tell you. Are you committed to your results, yes or no? They're never saying no. But you have to call people, and to do that you have to be in the state of masculine, and it all begins at the beginning of the sale when they apply. It shifts it, because now they don't get to just talk to you. They don't get to just inquire about your prices, right? Next step, and this is once they come in, either on the phone, in front of you, you're having that conversation with them, you've got to paint a picture of health, right? What this does is this future paces what they want. Because you don't know what their goals are, right? You don't know what they're trying to achieve, okay? Like, some people want to lose weight. Some people, whatever they come in and they tell you is usually not the real reason. But what we want to do, and this the question that we ask is, if we're having this conversation 12 months from now, what has to happen for you to be happy with your results? And we let them tell us. And then we ask them what else. And then we ask them what else. And that question comes from Dan Sullivan. It's called the Dan Sullivan question. He's wrote a whole book on it, if you want to get that book. But you start by picturing the future, right? We let them dream, because the next step gets painful, right? We want to bring them back to reality. We want to figure out the signs and the symptoms. So what the heck is going on that they're not happy about, right? I'm overweight, my relationship sucks, I'm a terrible parent, I'm not confident. We got to find all this out. We got to find out these signs and symptoms. How long has it been going on, right? And then together with them, we start to diagnose the problem, right? Diagnose the problem, getting into the details with them about, so if you think, if you were training, multiple times a week, if you're following a diet, nutrition program, if you knew what you were doing, do you think you would get results? They're agreeing with you. You're leading them now into what that plan is going to look like. Before you give them the plan, you create some urgency. It's been great talking to you today. Just out of curiosity, how fast are you looking to get the results? Sometimes they'll say I got to go on vacation, so when I get back. And usually we'll turn around and say, honestly, I don't think you're going to be a good client then. And we work with people here who are really committed to the outcomes. And if you're not ready to move forward, I totally get it. But this is a big investment. I just wouldn't feel comfortable taking your money. And you let them off the hook. 9 times out of 10, though, they're going to chase you because you've just pushed them away. Most people say, I'm ready. What do I have to do? And that's when you prescribe. Right? And you prescribe the exact formula that's going to get them results. And there's no questions to it. Mrs. Jones, you told me you need to lose 60 pounds. To lose 60 pounds, it's going to take us probably at least 8 months to get you to that point. Right? Once we get you there, I've got to teach you how to maintain. So it's probably going to be at least a year we're going to need to work together in order to get you where you want to go, and then for me to teach you how to maintain that so you never go back to the life you're in. Sound good? Yeah. Great. In order to do that, you're going to have to train probably 4 times a week. 4 times a week is what you're going to need to train. You're also going to need to follow a strict nutrition program, and we'll get you set up with that and everything like that. Now, to work with us for a year, it usually costs $10, $12, whatever, $1,000. But I understand it's a little difficult to go into that commitment today. You just met me. We don't know each other that well. So what I suggest is we work together for the next 90 days. And the investment is just $1,500, $2,000, $2,500. Sound fair. And you sit there and you wait. And then, usually the objection comes. And this is where that lizard brain we talked about earlier comes into play. Fight or flight. Are we going to fight for their future? Or are we going to retreat and let them make that decision? Knowing that the decisions they've made before they've shown up today in front of you have gotten them to where they are. And they clearly have not been that good. I want to fight. So you have to control the sale. Or in Claff calls this frame control. He's probably one of the best negotiators in the world for funding companies, but it's called frame control. You always want to remain in control and be the alpha, right? You do this by always keeping your authority. So you control the sale. You control the conversation. If they ask you questions, you've got to do a 3-point turn. You've got to do a turnaround. Because you can't ignore that question. But the question's really not what they want, right? So 3-point turnaround when someone questions you or someone during the sales process doesn't want to answer the question. You acknowledge what they say. So let's say they say, hey, this is great, but I'm short on time. I just need to know the price, right? So I totally respect that. Time is valuable. Honestly, it's probably going to take us about 30, 40 minutes. Do we need to reschedule? We didn't answer the question. We said it's going to take about 30, 40 minutes to determine, right? If they persist, well, I just want to know the price. You say, honestly, I totally appreciate that. This is a big investment. But unless I know what's going on with you, unless you can answer these questions, I have no idea what you need. Our prices range from like a couple of thousand to like $10,000, $15,000. But it all depends on what you need. So do you have time to answer these questions, or should we reschedule? So you have to do these turnarounds. You acknowledge, you answer indirectly, and then you ask a question and get back in control. Right? So that's a 3-point turnaround. The last thing, looping. This is when we get to the objections, right? If we followed the formula, they've told us what they want. They told us everything they're doing that's wrong, all the problems like, why do you think you struggle? Oh, I eat out multiple times a week, my support system. They tell you all the things, the reasons why they're not successful, the things they've tried in the past, why they failed. You're looking for all of that. And then you've diagnosed with them, you've worked with them. So if you think you had a plan, you had a nutrition program, you had the right support system, you knew what you were doing, you're going to be successful, they agree. Then you say, how fast do you want to get started? They say right away. And then they give you an excuse. You legitimately can just stand there in confusion and be like, Mrs. Jones, I'm confused. Literally 2 minutes ago, you told me you were ready to get started. So, what I know from doing these things a lot, and from sitting across the table from hundreds of people, is that usually there's some questions that you're unsure of. So, are there any questions that you would like to ask me? You give them that power. They can ask you those questions. And you can loop back around and say, okay, totally understand your fear. Do you agree that if I can get you the results that I've promised you, that this is a fair investment? Well, yes. Well, great, let's get you signed up. So we bring them back around to a yes. I got to talk to my wife. I got to talk to my husband. We talked about that. Get them on the phone. Ask them when they're going to speak to them. If they refuse to get on the phone, or they refuse to do whatever, you say, great, well, let's do this. When are you going to be home? Great. So tomorrow morning, let's schedule a call 9 a.m. Do I have your word that you're going to call me? Because I don't want to waste my time. If it's a no, just let me know. It's totally fine. No, I'm going to talk about it. Fantastic. If your husband agrees, are you committed to moving forward? Yes. Fantastic. Let's move forward. Right? So we loop. Other objections is I don't know if I have the time. And then you can explore that with them and loop them back around. If we can find the time, and we can get these results, do you think this is the right thing? Yes, move them back around. So looping, that's huge. And it comes down to, guys, like I mentioned, like if you want to be successful, you just have to choose to be successful. And when you make that choice, you have to be willing to go all in. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes. You have to be willing to do the marketing. You have to be willing to do the sales. You have to be willing to deliver an experience, right? And once you've mastered it, now you can bring a team on and replace yourself, right? But if you can't lead them in the mastery in the areas that you need to replace yourself in, then they're going to fail. And ultimately, you're going to fail, right? And so it starts with that belief in yourself. It starts with that self-confidence. And you have to own these things, right? And you have to really, 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 really want it. Because if you don't, the reality is you're letting people down. Because the world is getting fatter, sicker, more and more unhealthy. There is a need for us in the industry more than ever before. And you guys have the tools, the knowledge, the information to change someone's life. And to play small, to hold that back, is to screw people over. And I know none of you mean to do that, but that's the reality. If you're scared to share your story, then how are you going to reach the person that needs to hear it the most? Someone else will come along and they'll help that person, and you'll be left on the side. And I don't want to see anyone get left behind. I don't want to see anyone fail. But the reality is you've got to be an A player. For some, it comes easier than others. Some people are going to have to study around the clock. But everyone has the opportunity to do that. You just have to decide if you want that opportunity.